Hello there everyone, and welcome to this updated Agoatni Slip Through the Cracks deck tech theory crafting thing. If you watched my last video, you know that I forced Finley against his will to do the video. It's actually role reversal here. I've been forced to do this video. So with me today is the one and only Agoatni, and he's going to talk through some of the new things regarding Agoatni Slip Through the Cracks, because they don't have bonds anymore.
Yeah, changes a lot actually.
Yes.
So
over to you.
I'm keeping the same, at least the main board equipment. I think there's a good argument to make this now Mask of Perdition. I'm now playing Art of Desire Body, which will become prevalent later, and because of that I like Mask of Perdition because it gives me two different targets that I can play into most matchups that will get maybe draw 2, gain 2 life, and if it does that, the card's insane. That leads into the stealth attacks.
See you, Finley.
I've made one alteration in the stealth attacks in the red line, in main deck wise, which is one backstab. It's probably going to go to 2 or 3. The logic behind backstab is basically if we're going to a more defensive, maybe not defensive is the right term, but more off turns and big turns sort of format, having a card that basically says don't have a D-react, especially when you're still playing Take Up the Mantle, means that your game states you can just auto win. So if they're at like 6 life, they don't block a stealth attack for 3, and you make the stealth attack for 6, go for mantle, you've just won the game, and there's nothing they can do about it. I like this card. I was playing it a while ago. I stopped playing it for the Battle Hardened because the format was too aggressive. Decks like Acilio and Syndra being really good, as well as Gravy, that just didn't play enough D-reacts. But for running to a more D-react focused meta, this card's really good. Probably goes up more than 1 once that format really starts to initialize.
I was going to say, if you're expecting more Verdants and Florian, which I think we are, then maybe more than 1 is
definitely
good.
I'm just playing the one now because I've not seen how the format shaping up, but this is good and it probably gets more. I'll go into the buffs next. These will stay the exact same. I like the buffs that I play. Just the next contentious, and I also think Take Out the Mantle's now contentious. Both of these playsets are now getting cut from us. Just the next more understandable because we no longer have the best target for Just the Nick. So now that its best target's gone, it does feel like a bit of a less valuable card, but I play 11 blues that are all targetable by Just a Nick.
And some of them are worse than the others.
Some of them are worse than the others, but that's why Take Up the Mantle exists as well. Like you can go Just a Nick, Take Up the Mantle and get 5 value off of 1 card. A 1 card 5 is still insane, I think. And that's good enough value to play it. It's a bit bricky, but it blocks for 3, so you can get the block value for 3. You're getting 3 value minimum. Most likely you're getting 5 value. Mantle's getting cut. I know in Mario lists that I've seen, they're getting that card cut, and some Slippy lists have started cutting it down. I think the card's insane in Slippy because your daggers aren't attacked with that often. So if we're flicking our daggers to get value, then this is always going to be 3 value, as well as the fact that it's the best stealth attack. So it can be an infiltrate, Take Up the Mark of the Black Widow, or Persuasive Prognosis. I think those are the best 3 targets. It means that it's just a toolbox. You're always getting the best stealth attack, and as I say, with someone like Backstab and at 6, it's game over if they don't block a stealth attack at 6. So I like the card still. I play it at 3. My blues are 3 Persuasive Prognosis, 3 Table Trouble, 3 Art of Desire Body, and this is the new one, Trapdoor. Art of Desire Mind is good because I think we're going to go into a deck or format with a lot more blues being played. So if Guardians are getting played, if the new Brutes are getting played the way that I think they're going to get played, Mind's really good into that. It's again another card for this to make it good, which means that we're drawing 2 cards, we're gaining 2 life, and the value on that play is insane at that point because then it becomes a 1 card 7 rather than a 1 card 1. This is a weird card. I'm playing a couple of Inertia Traps in the sideboard. This card gets cut if Inertia Trap's not good. If Inertia Trap's really good, then this card's really good as well. It also plays around Dominate quite nicely because you can discard it as an instant to get a card in your banish that becomes that, essentially. Which means that you're getting a lot more value out of this than you would before. I don't think it's insane. I think it's going to be a decent blue, and it means you can just nick it and change it with Mantle, which makes it good. Because you never really want to attack with this card, you want to use other applications. So if Inertia Trap's good, it stays in the deck. If Inertia Trap's shit, it's out the deck. That's how I see it. And then the non-stealth other attacks sort of stuff, or things that would become attacks, are these. The new one in this lineup is Death Touch. So if we're going to a format where decks are going to take off turns to set up, your Pleiades for example, your Lias most likely, this card becomes really good because you can just arsenal and set up for your own bigger turns. Because a one card, a tunic, because we don't use tunic really to gain resources, you'll see the deck's very zero cost. And you're almost always going to have your tunic resource, so it becomes a 1 card 6 with an on hit that's at least 2 value, I would say. If inertia is really good, that's why we're playing inertia trap. Inertia is going to be really good on hit, and if worse, it's 2 damage on a blood rot, which is a 1 card 8.
I think you're probably going to go for blood rot more often this, because inertia trap's good because you give them a surprise inertia.
Exactly.
Inertia from an attack, in my experience, isn't as good. Do you think this is maybe a bit bricky? Because I don't even play this in Riptide, and you can reload it quite easily.
It depends how aggressive it is. So if you're having to be on the aggression every turn cycle, because this is a brickier card in Slippy. Like Slippy's really good at just going do. But sometimes you're going to be do means more like attack, pump, attack. If you're doing that every turn, and that's what you have to do to win the game, this card's atrocious, and you'll take this card out. This card's unplayable if the game plan is to be as consistent as possible. But if you're trying to set up for bigger turns because other decks are playing slower, and you're having to set up bigger turns to get the damage through, this card becomes really good, and it becomes a decent Codex target.
Yeah, that's true.
As an alternative as well.
Yeah, if you just got Codex Tunic.
It's also a popper. That means I can still play about 7 poppers into decks like Prism. I don't know how good Prism's going to be. So like again, it's a card that can potentially get cut.
Have you seen the new Prism card?
Probably not, but like
it's going to be
it's going to be really good. I'm still playing the same EB suite because I still have the same mindset on a Arcane Barrier in Slippy, which is this is better than playing 2 more Spell Void 1 and AB 1 PCs because you don't have the blue count to consistently pitch for it. This suite is usually better into decks like Earth that just give you the extra life. My main game plan before was to fatigue Verdances. It's not that currently, but if Verdance is really good in the next meta game, you can play Sigils, a couple extra blues, and then it becomes a good idea. Like if Verdance and Florian are the best decks next format, there's an argument to play Snag as a blue, pitchable, D-React for 4 essentially, because the Snag will always be 4 value into those cards that are really good in those decks. And also as a higher blue count for the Fortress to pay for the Fortress AV3 when it matters.
Skull Cap, yeah.
Exactly. And then against like Florians that are maybe playing Millennium Tree if they're on that, and Verdances that are just doing their regular game plan, I think this is really good. I don't know if I'll need to play Sigils for it though, to make it better.
Yeah.
I think I might have to. And then sideboards, the 2 ofs are Spike with Blood Rot, Inertia Trap, Toxicity, Cut Through the Facade, and Codex of Blood Rot. Cut Through the Facade's going to be better than Blanche, I think, into the next format, because Gravy's no longer in the same representation. So it's the same card in principle of a popper for 7 against Prism, and does something nice into some decks in the format. So it's just a 1-to-1 replacement based on the format. Codex of Blood Rot's the card I'm at least convinced on. I don't like the card amazingly, but I think it's a 1-card 5. It gives 2 damage. It gives you a ponder token. It means you can play the bigger hands. So if we're having to be playing bigger hands, this card's really good at it. And if we're playing Death Touch and we have a Codex of Blood Rot, it makes the Death Touches better. Inertia Trap's the trap that I want to play for the trap card. I think it's the best trap that we have access to as an assassin, in which case that's the reason to play it. Spike with Blood Rot and Toxicity have the same purpose of navigating the deck more towards Kiss of Death being the best card in the deck and playing for a longer game. So if we're playing for a longer game, Toxicity, Kiss of Death actually becomes like a relatively consistent strategy. And against probably the newer Guardians, they don't appear to have many ways to prevent, unlike the Earth heroes. So Earth is the best deck. He's got to come out because Earth's got so many ways to stop it. If decks that aren't playing, if Earth isn't as good and they are still in those sort of slower Guardian root decks, this is quite easy to set up into them and get you like on average probably about 10 damage depending on how they're blocking, which is insane. And then the 3 ofs in the sideboard are 3 Saber Bloodshed, 3 Sink, and 3 Infiltrate. Infiltrate's the best stealth attack that's just not mainboardable because some matchups it just can't do anything in any meaning. When it is though good, it's really good. It does the same value. I've hit so many good cards off Infiltrate, and I do like putting into decks, but there's some decks where it just doesn't have a target that matters, so you don't play it in the main board, but it's just the easiest card to bring in. Then Sink's the best D-React if you're only playing really like 3 important D-reacts. Like if you're playing 3 D-reacts at bottom 4, I think Sig is the best one because it helps with consistency. As well as now Shelter's worse because deck Slippy has been hit, as well as Mario's been hit by losing Bonds. So flick into Mantle is no longer really... Sorry, Mantle into Bonds is no longer a play that they can do. So that's what the best thing Shelter could stop. Shelter's not as good now because those cards aren't as good. And if Cinder's bad into the next format, even less reasons to play Shelter. And then Saber Bloodshed's basically when we want to play really slow decks, so I'm thinking like Jarls and stuff like that, because it basically becomes a 1 card 5. It has good like on hit effects because of our daggers. Basically making our daggers important to block. So if we have 1 blue in this, it's a really annoying turn for them to deal with. You can start off with like the Hunter's Clave, deal 1 damage, mark them, play this, Graphene for 5, and it becomes like this whole mind game that they have to play around of, well, he's going to flip me if I take the damage. If I don't take the damage and I block it, if I don't block it, I take 5 and then he's always a card anyway, so they're in a shit position. Basically making your daggers like something to meaningfully block is important in decks where you're trying to go better value than them. So yeah, that's kind of the list. I think there's going to be some changes. I don't think this is like the list that's going to be the next format and it's going to destroy the next format. It's the best deck ever made. I think there's some ideas that are a bit quirky that are going to get cut. My mindset is immediately Spike to Blood Run, maybe Death Touch as the 2 deck cards that are like the most. But if the format lines up how I think it's going to line up, these cards are really good.
Okay. And where do you think Slippy sits in the meta? Having seen Super Slam but most of the set now, and knowing where the meta was before Super Slam, where would you put Slippy? This is one where if it doesn't age well, I'll be sure to.
I think he's like a solid rogue deck.
No, like A, S, B, C, kind of do.
So
like...
S would be like best deck in the format, right?
Yeah.
Then A is like all the decks that do really well regardless. So I'd put him in like a B to high C. So like I think he's a solid deck. He does well in the certain matchups, but I think the format is not going to be conditional for him to be good. If that makes sense. Like the best decks in the format are going to be.
Yeah, you said the wrong words, but I know what you meant.
Yeah, wrong words, bad word choice, but yeah. I think it's going to be a format that he's not got good matchups into, and that makes him a bad deck. But if the format changes and Gravy's the best deck again, then this deck's insane, because everyone's trying to play around Gravy.
I guess the new ally though makes the Gravy matchup a bit more miserable.
Yeah. There's not going to be a, but like the best thing you could hit Gravy was Bonds anyway, and that's gone. So.
Okay, well I guess what we're saying is
you just have to fatigue Gravies now.
Yeah. Oh well, thanks for your time, Finn.
No problem.
I can now finally go no longer held hostage. And if you guys have any questions, let us know. If you guys have come up with something different, let us know, of course. I think Finn's maybe a bit short on ideas, but you never know. So yeah,
I'm always open to ideas, yeah.